All right, my name is Miguelito León. I'm director and founder of Rumba All-Stars and Sankofa Habana. Sankofa Habana, first and foremost, is our home. We also have our academy, our Rumba All-Stars Academy here, which is primarily a space that we developed for us, for the members of Rumba All-Stars, to have a space a few times a week to rehearse, to study together as a team. Vedado is an area in Havana that used to be very segregated. Back before the revolution, black people were not allowed to walk in this area of town. And one of the main reasons why there's black people in this part of Havana is because they were the caretakers of all these mansions. Some of the most powerful people lived in Vedado. And when those people fled Cuba during the revolution, expecting to come back, they left the houses in the hands of the caretakers. Those people never came back, and the caretakers were left with these mansions. So that's one of the main reasons why there's Afro-Cuban life here in Vedado. And our family, my wife's family, they're actually some of the pioneers of this area because they come from the coastline of Havana. That whole area was being evacuated because of threats of invasion. So her family was brought over to this building, and she made very good relations, her grandmother, with the social worker, and she was the one in charge of handing all the families their keys to the apartments in this building. So the fact that we have a cultural center, an Afro-Cuban cultural center here in Vedado, the fact that we're playing rumba here in Vedado, where back in the day that was definitely not permitted, is very empowering and a kind of a statement that we're also trying to make. Our goal as Rumba All-Stars is to elevate the genre, to eliminate the negative stigmas that it carries, and to put it on a pedestal that we believe it deserves, so that it's at the same level of jazz music, salsa music, timba music, and so that these rumba artists can make a substantial living, just like these other artists that are performing these other styles of music. And so kind of saying that word rumba from Vedado is kind of has a deeper meaning to it. Rumba and folklore, as we all know, comes from the streets. You don't really get formal training to be a rumbero or to be a batalero or a folkloric dancer. It comes from the heart, it comes from lineage, it comes from your family. And so we want to offer a space for these street musicians or artists to also get some kind of formal training, because at the end of the day, that's just going to help them in the musical world as far as working and being able to do more in the music industry. And vice versa, folkloric musicians have the soul, have the essence. Formally trained musicians have other strengths. So our goal is to bring that together and learn from each other. So which is why we have, for example, a day dedicated to percussion, where we start with percussion technique, and then we do folkloric rhythms and popular rhythms. So everybody's learning from one another. On Wednesdays, for example, we have Song Day, where we start with vocal arrangement, harmonies. We also have an hour dedicated to folkloric songs, and then our regular Rumba All-Stars rehearsal. And on Fridays, we have our dance day, which we start with contemporary dance technique, and then we do folkloric dance and popular dance. All right. And again, I emphasize that this is a space that was developed for us, and we open up the doors for people to integrate in the way that we practice. It's not so much that we cater to the client that's coming to participate in the class. If you want something specific, that would be a private lesson, but we just want to have a space for us to kind of work together as a family. We also have on Sundays a youth academy directed by Latam Percusión, one of our percussionists in the group, El Melo. He's the director of that academy, and they do an amazing job working with the youth. It's primarily Cuban percussion, but they also offer solfege, piano, singing, and just basically preparing the youth to find their path, their artistic path. Maybe they'll become a percussionist, maybe they'll realize they want to be a singer or a pianist, and that's a perfect space for them to kind of develop those tools. We also have a mini museum here in Sankofa. A lot of these instruments and artifacts that you see here in our space were actually part of the Museum of Africa in Old Havana. We were so lucky and blessed to come across the artisan who made all those instruments, and he really identified with our project, and he basically left them in our hands. So We have the drums that tell the story of the African influence that's here in Cuba. The reason why Cuban music and dance and culture is so rich and so diverse is because of the diverse amount of ethnic groups that were brought over from Africa to Cuba. So you have not only Nigerian influence, but you have Arara influence from Benin, from Dahomey. You have Congo influence, you have Abakwa influence from the Carabal region in Cameroon, and as well as Haitian influence, as well as American influence with the gospel, with the aesthetic, with the new style of rumba that's being created. Everything from, the fashion, which comes from American hip hop culture, to the style of lyrics. So it's a melting pot here. Here in Sankofa Habana, we also have our boutique, which is a space where we sell our Rumba All-Stars merch, which is a little clothing line that we developed not with the intention to create a fashion line. It was more just like a way to sustain ourselves, because one thing that really identifies us is our aesthetic with the African garments that we use. We make all of our own wardrobe here in Havana by an elder, one of my wife's aunts. And so it's very homegrown. And that was just kind of a way to pay homage to the motherland. And people really started, liking the wardrobe, and they were asking how they could purchase it. So we decided, instead of just making regular Rumba All-Stars t-shirts for band merch, we wanted to give people the opportunity to support and buy some of these pieces of wardrobe that you could see us wearing. So that's here in our boutique. And again, it's just a way for us to sustain ourselves. We also support local artists. We have, souvenirs and artisanal goods made by Huellas Taínas, which is all quality wood from Baracoa, and everything from claves to musical instruments to cigar boxes to a bunch of beautiful stuff. And artwork made by our cousin Afro-Cuban, who's a local artist, DJ, and he has amazing work. Afro-Cuban, religious inspired. Sankofa is a legend, an African legend. It's a bird that represents never forgetting where you come from. Knowing what your roots are, knowing where you come from so you can know where you're going. So that's why they say it's a bird that flies forward while looking backwards. So that's something that we're trying to do with the Cuban heritage, is teach the youth the roots of their music, of their culture, and the importance of the African influence here. I'm primarily a percussionist. I was raised, playing congas, bongos, all of that. And being married to a dancer and working so much with dance in the past few years, I've realized, of course, dancing is such a beautiful art because it's meant to be felt first and foremost, You feel the music and it's naturally gonna make your body move, And a lot of these, natural born dancers, they were just raised listening to this music and moving their body. So it wasn't like they were formally taught. Whereas in music, to be a professional musician and work with a lot of these orchestras that are interpreting music that we were raised listening to, you have to have some level of formal training, because at the end of the day, you have to play in a key, you have to play in a clave, you have to either read music or be able to compose. And you're playing with a whole orchestra that's not just, for example, playing bata for spiritual reasons.